Hey guys, before we hop into your video, I wanted to tell you guys about my new partnership with BetterHelp. If you haven't heard of it, it's an online resource in which you can find your very own friendly local neighborhood therapist, no matter where you are in the world. You sign up, and within 24 hours, they match you with a licensed therapist that's right for you. And you can talk to your counselor every week via phone or video chat, and you also have the opportunity to text them in between sessions. As most of you guys know, I am also a licensed professional as well as a mental health advocate, and sometimes in these readings, very in depth topics come up that are very intricately related to mental health, and it's for that reason that I offer this resource to you guys. And if you know anyone that can benefit from them, or if you yourself can benefit from them, I suggest you take advantage of them. The information to sign up will be in the description box below, but let's go ahead and get into your reading. Hello Pisces, welcome to your end of February reading. I am Princess India if you are new. If you are family, welcome back my friends. You know what I'm saying? No matter whatever. So anywho, we're going to go ahead and jump right into you guys' cards and see what's going on between you as well as a person of interest for the end of February. First card out, we have the Wheel of Fortune. Oh, that's fascinating. So a cycle has shifted in your love life, and I would say as of now, until more cards come out, that's if you are, that's if you're single or if you're coupled. But what I want to say about that, like a cycle shifting, I want to say this more in reference as energetic, it's more or less, it's a spiritual influence is how I want to say it. But I feel that this is in your favor more than anything. Oh, how wonderful. Then we have the 10 of Pentacles. That explains why that is. So here's the deal. And I mean, I guess this could be for single people or coupled people, quite honestly. I think it would, that's kind of unfair for me to say that it would resonate more with single people. But the shift that has transpired is more or less inspiration to make oneself a priority, right? So that can also jive if you're in a relationship, but it's more or less the focus now is less on your specific partner or less on a potential partner, like if you're single, and it's more on yourself, right? So for my coupled people that are Pisces, it very well could be that it's like a decision to shift your focus. Like say if your focus has been heavily on, okay, so somebody may have started therapy. That's nice to know. Congratulations. I'm very proud of you. I really mean that. Because how I'm seeing it is like if it's someone who, like you're in a partnership with someone and it's something about like focusing on yourself, which would be like, if you're in therapy and you're starting to kind of unearth your stuff, it's your focus shifting from, instead of intently focusing on what my partner is or isn't doing, is more or less looking at yourself and what it is that you are or aren't doing, like as just an individual person. But for my single people, I feel that it's more or less that's what the focus is. The focus is now, and it's more or less energetically. It's as if with the wheel that spirit is giving you strength to be able to do this. So it's more or less up to, I would say probably the beginning of this month, maybe leaving out of January, going into February. It was a sensation or a feeling of like a cumbersome or a burden or something along those lines. And it's that being removed. And suddenly it's like, whereas before when you made a decision to say like, oh, I'm going to focus on myself or love myself, it's almost like now you have a sense of like, proverbial superhuman strength to put your time, energy, effort, and attention into this specific area. But the thing that I feel led to say in reference to that is because you have done that, or for those of you who aren't, if you do start to do that, your love life is going to start to reflect your relationship with yourself. So the same for those of you who are partnered, especially if you are, seeing a therapist now. Because a lot of people don't know that. I do marriage therapy as well. And sometimes there are people who are a part of a couple who want to, seek marriage therapy or couples therapy. but the other partner isn't interested in coming, but they want to go through therapy, and they often wonder, like, can I still go even though I'm in a partnership? And the answer is absolutely yes, because if we look at it in a sense of systems, like systems theory, cybernetics, and all that good stuff, it's if one part of the system changes, being that individual person, it forces the entire system to recalibrate. So even if one partner in a relationship goes to therapy and they implement changes in their life that can still benefit both people, because the other person, not saying that they would change per se, it's just that if you change, it changes how the two of you engage. And now that person has a decision to make. It's either they are going to recalibrate to, deal with you in a more healthy way, right? Or they deny doing that. And that's usually when people, break up. Not saying that you guys are breaking up. The next card out, we have the, oh God, okay, Six of Pentacles in the reverse. Okay, so that's really what it is I'm seeing here. For those of you that are partners, you're being called, or in partnerships, you're being called to find a state of balance or homeostasis within yourself, because there's an unequal give and take in this partnership, and it's, I don't want to necessarily say, because that's funny how I'm seeing that. It's like, you're putting in more than the other person, but it's bringing me back to this Ten of Pentacles, where it's kind of like, for those of you who are in a partnership, right? Like you're with another person, and say you are focusing on yourself, it's more or less bringing the attention to the fact of, if you're focusing on yourself and you've been doing or making yourself a priority, and you're still connected to this person, is more or less the lack of what it is that they're doing is starting to become more apparent, So, and I mean, that's something kind of like what I said with the therapy thing. If you are in therapy, it's like, as you start to work on yourself, it's almost as if the blinders come off, and stuff that didn't look wrong before suddenly starts to look wrong, and it didn't before. And that's kind of like the vibe I'm getting with this. And I feel that specifically for people who are in partnerships, it's kind of like, if you have chosen or do choose to work on yourself, it's almost as if as you start to move forward, you're going to start to see this imbalance more clear than you do now, right? And this is kind of a conversation I had with my Couture Soul Collective. We were having a conversation the other night, a few nights ago, and we were talking about love and relationships, and we were talking about that in accordance with self-love. And the thing that I was saying was why it's so important to be single and to get to know yourself, get to know your baseline, and to treat yourself well, and not just say that, but like literally do it. It's because you then become the schematic, right? Like, if you find peace and happiness as a single person, then it's now easier for you to detect when another person comes into your life, whether it's romantic or it's friendships, if they throw your homeostasis off kilter, right? But if you're imbalanced already and another person comes in imbalanced, it's like you really can't differentiate. It's like, I was sad and depressed and hated my life before I met you. So I don't really know how much of me being sad, depressed, and hating my life is you or is me, for example, right? But if you're happy and you're jovial and you enjoy your life and you wake up every day with a sense of excitement or, revelry or peace or what have you, then when another person comes into your system and suddenly you find yourself feeling really bad about yourself or bad about your life or doubting yourself and things of the sort, it's like you kind of know what that factor is, right? So then if you go even deeper, because of course other people trigger us, it's still easier for you to pinpoint. It's like, wow, I didn't feel like that before this person came here, but it's like, what is it that they're triggering in me? And when you don't have a whole bunch of personal garbage to sort through, you can easily say, wow, this makes me feel insecure. Why is that? And kind of get to the root of the problem sooner. You know what I mean? And that's kind of like the vibe that I'm getting with this. But I see it like from two sides. It's more or less, for those of you who are already working on yourself, what I'm saying is going to start to become apparent. It's like you're going to start to very clearly see the imbalance, whereas before it's just like, oh, you know, we have problems and we argue, but I can't ever seem to figure out what the root of the problem is, or where is it that this relationship is kind of going off kilter or whatever. And for those of you who have not started that process yet, it's more or less saying that that's when that revelation, that's what you would start to see. And those of you who are already doing the work, you're already starting to see that, in so many words. But it's more or less picking an ideal partner based on another person treating you the way that you treat yourself, if that makes sense. So that's like that whole mirroring thing. It's like we tolerate and we put up with behaviors of other people when they're less than stellar behaviors, if in the event, you know, we treat ourselves like that. I hope that that's making sense, because I feel like I'm saying a whole bunch of words, but I just hope it's coherent what I'm saying, because it's more or less like, with me, it's like, if I use myself as an example, it's like I don't treat myself like shit. You know, I don't ignore myself. You know, I don't beat myself up in my head, right? So if Princess doesn't do that to Princess, like, why the fuck would I let another human being come into my life and talk to me and treat me the way that I don't treat my damn self? You feel what I'm saying? It's like, I'm me. I live in my body. I have every single right to treat myself like shit if I wanted to, because I own myself. I can do whatever the hell I want, you know? But if I don't, then why would I let someone else do that? That doesn't make any sense. You feel what I'm saying? So it's kind of like shifting into that mentality via self-love. And whether you're single or you're coupled, how you treat yourself inadvertently becomes a standard of how other people treat you. And that's, you know, for good or for bad, if that makes sense. I hope that makes sense, Pisces. So let's look at you guys' person of interest. This energy feels very, it feels very self-focused. I'm not gonna lie to you. And I even feel for some of you guys, it's having a revelation or a realization, and that may be more for single people. It's having, like soon, probably, this is something that's going to be occurring through the retrograde, and you'll probably have full clarity on it by Mercury goes direct March 9th. So probably around March, you'll feel more empowered in this area. But I feel that whether singled or coupled, Pisces, it's going to be very clear to you within the next 6 weeks at least of where you've gone awry in past relationships, or where things have gone awry in your present one, meaning in the sense of where this imbalance exists, like in what ways specifically you overcompensated or overgave in some way, shape, form, or fashion. Now, the first card for your person of interest is the 9 of Swords. So we talking about anxiety here. For some of you, this literally may be that some of y'all may have recently left someone behind, and that kind of left them in a tussy, in a sense of confusion of like what is happening right now. The next card out that we have is the 5 of Wands in the reverse. Oh, sweet mother of goodness. Yeah, I would say that's what it's looking like. And I can see that two ways. For some of you, like people who would be single, this would probably be so my single people who've been single for a minute, y'all could take all this up here that I said with the self-love stuff. But the other people I would be talking to that technically would be single right now is because you recently disengaged from someone, right? And then people who are still with someone. So the people who are in a partnership with someone, like you're in a relationship with someone or dealing with someone, you making the decision to start focusing on yourself, it's more or less your behavior has changed. Like I said, like if a person's in therapy, like you change and the system now has to recalibrate around the changes that you've made. I would say for people that are partnered, it's more or less you being more self-focused. Your person sees that your behavior has changed, and that's throwing them off kilter, which in essence is supposed to happen because you are changing the system, right? You're by more or less changing in what ways that you enabled this dysfunction to continue. It's like the hiccup in the system is more or less revealing itself. The imbalance in the system is revealing itself, and it's throwing your person off kilter, right? So they're not quite understanding what it is that you're doing because you're moving different. And I would also say for those of you who have recently disengaged with someone, you've also changed your behavior because maybe you would always let this person back or you would always engage this person, and suddenly now you've decided to not do that. So it's kind of throwing the person off and making them suspicious and worried and anxious because things that they've done before, like what's the word I'm looking for, like tactics that they've used before to engage with you, it's like they're not working anymore. And it's almost as if this person is now resorting to, it's like, and I mean, some of y'all who've recently disengaged with someone, y'all may not even be dealing with nobody. You know what I'm saying? You literally may not even be dealing with another person, but this past person is legit, and I'm gonna be real, they're lurking, like they're watching and they're lurking, and it very well could be like through social media and stuff like that, but they're watching because they're conflicted because you're maneuvering different. But I would still say to be kind of watchful of that, especially since it's Mercury retrograde and X is becoming back nowadays. You know what I'm saying? But it's more or less that they're watching you because they're trying to figure you out because you're moving different. And it's like, because you're moving different, it's like, wait a minute. Like, are they with somebody else? Because they can't just be over me kind of vibe is what I'm getting, you know? So, I don't know how you feel about that. I don't know, like, if you have public accounts or whatever, if you don't want this person watching you like that, I feel I should tell you that they are. But this person is very conflicted because you've completely switched up on them. And they don't understand that. It's like, it's almost like you acting brand new on some stuff, and because you're maneuvering different, it's perplexing because you've never done that before. So the reason why they're watching is because their assumption is, which is, I don't really necessarily like that mindset per se, but their thought process is the only way that you could ever possibly disengage from them is if you met someone else, in so many words. So they're looking at your social media and stuff like that because they're trying to see who the person is that you're dealing with. But I don't really feel that y'all are even really dealing with anyone like that. But to me, that kind of shows an arrogance with this person at the fact of like, that you would think like the only possible way that this person would not be worried about me is if they're with someone else. It's like, no, they're just self-empowered enough to the point that they just don't want to deal with your ass. I'm just saying. So let's get one more card for your person of interest. But that's funny. But it's really messing them up. With the Five of Wands in the reverse, is like they're hella conflicted because it's throwing them off. Because it's really like, it's almost as if this person felt a false sense of confidence in how you've maneuvered up to this point. And it's like they weren't prepared for this, so they really don't know what to do with it. So it's kind of throwing them off kilter. You know what I mean? And I would say the same for those of you that are partnered. It's like, if you have a partner and say that they like to argue and you not engaging in their arguments, you're not enabling their bad behavior anymore, it's like that's throwing them off kilter. Because it's like, it doesn't compute, like cognitive dissonance. I don't know
how to not do what we were doing. Why are you not arguing with me type of deal. That's kind of the vibe I'm getting. Now, the other two cards that came out for your person of interest, the last two, are the Four of Pentacles in the reverse and the Ace of Wands in the reverse. Now, I can see this a couple of ways here. And for my partnered people, this isn't necessarily looking I'm not going to say it's not looking good, but I feel like this is the kind of thing that you're going to start to see. For those of you who resonate with this, with the Ace of Wands in the reverse and the Four of Pentacles in the reverse, is more or less because your behavior has changed and you're electing to not engage with this person's dysfunction and you're focusing on yourself. It's almost as if how they're going to attempt to punish you, in so many words, is by holding back. So this could go as far as them electing to not have sex with you anymore, or, I'm tired, I got a headache, you know what I'm saying? Oh, it was a long day at the office type of deal. Or, worst case scenario for some of you, if you're like financially dependent on them, it could be them like kind of holding back on resources type of deal. Like, I don't know if you're like a stay-at-home mom or something like that, or just relying on them financially. It's just them kind of pulling back on that, but and withholding affection. It's like them kind of going ice cold on you, so to speak. And it's like, I feel the reason for this is more or less it's like it's externalizing their inner frustration. You know what I mean? But this is still hella childish, because this is one of those things where you could literally just have a conversation. It's really not that complicated. You know what I mean? Or them looking at themselves to see where it is that they need to kind of switch things up. But it's and this is something I've never really seen this way, but this is fascinating. You know how I always talk about my is not is paradigm, right? And how when you're manifesting, the is not has to manifest before the is. I'm ironically seeing that in the partnership. And I've never seen this. That's fascinating. I've never seen this in a sense of how how a relationship would play out, but that makes total sense. It's almost with Pisces or the cross watcher, wherever you resonate. It's almost as if you making an epic change to make yourself the priority, to love yourself, to focus on yourself, not engage in the toxic behavior, not egg on the arguments. It's like, I'm no longer enabling, right? This throws your partner completely off, and they're trying to figure out. And even for those of you who are in partnerships, like I was saying, that lurking kind of energy, even those of you who are with someone, I see that, because it's kind of one of those things where, if you're married and like, say your husband or wife starts going like to the gym all of a sudden, and they've never really been into fitness, and it's like all of a sudden now you want to go to the gym, like we don't go to the gym, and you start getting suspicious, like why you just want to go to the gym all of a sudden. You know what I'm saying? It's like, if this is a Pisces person or cross watcher that decided to start going to therapy or going to yoga or something that you're doing to better yourself, and your behavior is starting to change because you've elected to start making your own happiness a priority, that of course is a clear, manifestation of changed behavior. That's making the person suspicious. So even those of you who are with someone, they are watching. You know what I mean? They may be clocking what time you get off from work and things of the sort, passing by the gym to see if your car out there, peeping in the windows to make sure you're really in there by yourself type of stuff. Because the only way that they can reconcile that you would be making changes like this is if you about to leave them and see someone else. So what they're doing, which is a dysfunctional self-protection behavior, they're just gonna be hella passive aggressive about it and just completely shut off how it is, like them being affectionate or having sex or money, whatever the case may be, whatever things you guys have intertwined. It's like they're gonna pull back, and part of that is more or less a self-protection thing, but on the other side of it, it's also like a passive aggressive form of punishment. Because it's like in the bigger scheme of things, what this person really wants you to do is to go back to the way that you were, because presently in the partnership you guys are in the is not. So in order to see the is, which would be the change in this person's behavior, it would still require you to not engage, in so many words, because it's like everything that it is that they're doing, because you're not engaging with the old form of conflicts, it's like it's almost as if they're going to try to hit you in another way. Because, and this is kind of a subconscious kind of thing, because they want you to go back to the way that stuff was. I want to go back into this old system because it's comfortable. It's like, I start an argument with you, you're supposed to argue with me until 3, 4, 5 o'clock in the morning. That is what we do. You know what I'm saying? Not that they're consciously thinking that. It's just, you know how it goes with all of our dysfunctions and things of the sort. But it's more or less they're turning up the temperature because the purpose is to get things to go back to the way that they were. But for those of you who are really adamant about making changes, with the Six of Pentacles in the reverse, I see for y'all, I feel like you're going to see that. You're going to see yet another level of dysfunction, and this person pulling back isn't saying that you shouldn't continue to focus on yourself. You know, if you really want to see the manifestation of this change in this partnership, you have to stay on the path of continuing to make yourself a priority and not fall into the old habits or behaviors, in so many words, because they're really gonna turn up the heat in a sense. And for my people, like if you just disengage with somebody, I kind of see this panning out 2 different ways. For some of y'all, the person just gonna keep watching you. You know, I don't really see them coming towards you per se, like actually like talking to you. But for others of you, if this person does come back, I would still watch them, because I feel that their only intention for coming back would be to see if they could like sleep with you real quick, and then they would just disappear again. You know what I'm saying? I feel like I said this in somebody's reading last month, but I don't know if that was Pisces or not. But I feel like with them, they literally would come back, but it would be more about their ego, like more or less reassurance, because this person's watching you. But if they were to physically come back and talk to you, their whole MO would be to sleep with you, because that's confirmation for them that they still have you. And it's like, oh, good. You know, he or she really ain't go nowhere. And then they would go back to like, you know, ghosting or disappearing in a sense. And then that kind of throws your whole process off kilter. So that kind of sets you back and throws you off balance, and you're kind of backtracking and starting all over again from where you guys are now. So I would be leery of that, my dear. So let's throw the dice of resonance. Oh, good Lord. How did this end up 27 minutes? I legit was like, I looked up and it was like 15 minutes and I was like, oh, we're doing good. Now we at 27 minutes. Y'all know I talk a lot. But anywho, we're going to go ahead and throw the dice of resonance before we go over to Vimeo. And in the extended, we are going to look at how your person thinks and feels about you and whatnot or whatever. You know what I'm saying? And I don't know why. I usually only do that if it's like a definite kind of a single thing. But I feel like, because I have my little people cards, I feel like I should pull some of those for single people. I don't know why. I don't know why. We'll go with it. I'll pull cards to see if we can get physical characteristics of any new people that may be coming in if you're about that life. We have Taurus. I'm looking for my initial cards. Pull you out now. Where are my initial cards? There they are. We have Taurus. We have Libra. Fascinating. Children of Venus in this piece. No is the answer to your question. We have family, and then we have male or Mars. So Taurus, Libra, no, family or male or Mars. And then I'm going to pull some initial cards. That's 1. Pisces, why you gotta be extra? Moving right along. We have E as in Edward. We have L as in Larry. We have S as in Sam. And we have Q. What starts with a Q? Quack? Only thing I can think of is quack. I don't know what else starts. Oh, Queen. There we go. Q is in Queen. So ELSQ. And our zodiac cards. The first one out, we have Leo. Fascinating. And we have Sagittarius. All right, Pisces, that has been your reading, my love. We're going over to Vimeo if you're about that life. The link is below. But if not, I still love your freaking face. And I'll see you guys soon and later. Deuces.